I'm talking to Karen Rose, who is Director of Regional Development for the Internet Society. Karen, could you first tell us what the Internet Society is, but also give us some idea of some of the projects you're involved in, because you're involved in capacity building, that is training people in how to manage the Internet in their own areas.
Sure, David, thanks for having me. The Internet Society is one of the oldest organizations, nonprofit organizations, that was established specifically to advance and promote the development of the Internet around the world. So we were established in 1992 by some of the key founders of the Internet, Vint Cerf and Bob Kahn. And our work really focuses at the corner of technology, policy, and development as we promote the open development of the Internet globally.
Now, training in how to manage the Internet and in the equipment that is used to make the Internet run, I imagine it's something that's concentrated mainly in the developed world, and yet there is a great need for that sort of training in the developing world, and this is something you do, isn't it?
Absolutely. The Internet Society really believes that the developing world has a key stake in the future of the Internet. With Internet access nearing 75% in some developed countries, the real avenue for future growth is in developing and emerging economies. So we place a big focus on capacity building in Africa, Latin America, and Asia. And we train, for example, over 1,000 Internet technologists around the world on fundamental basics of running networks, getting the most out of the resources they have, and how to grow Internet resources for their region.
Now, we consider the Internet to be, in the developed world at least, to be relatively ubiquitous, and it's a part of our daily lives. But there are some corners of the world where people haven't experienced the Internet, and you've got an example of a project in Pakistan where the Internet is basically being brought to people.
Sure. One of the things we do is do practical development projects with some of our members and our chapters. And one example is we had a member who wired up a van in Lahore, Pakistan, and drove that van to rural communities outside Lahore to give students and schools their first experience on the Internet. So in addition to working directly with communities, he also worked with schools in order to bring children on the Internet so they can really experience the benefits that it has to offer them.
When we talk of developing world, we can often confuse that this is somehow a geographical definition, and yet there are pockets in the United States, a developed country, that shows all the signs of the deprivation in terms of Internet accessibility of a developing country.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned, in many parts of the developed world, Internet access is at around 75%, but there's still pockets of individuals that don't have access to the Internet. And an example of a project that one of our members did was getting Internet access to immigrant communities in the U.S. state of North Carolina. She found that these immigrant communities had a difficult time accessing the Internet on a regular basis, either because they were constantly moving or they didn't have convenient access where they were. So she put together a project to give these communities more useful access, to be able to support them with finding the social information and support information that they could get in order to improve their economic situation in that area.
And once people see the content that's available, they're smitten, and they take it on themselves to get access to the Internet in the future.
Absolutely. The Internet Society thinks that content is a key demand driver for the Internet. So as much as we talk about infrastructure development, which is really important, locally and applicable content is also a key, because that gets people into the Internet. They understand what's at stake for them, and they understand the information that they can benefit from on the Internet. So it's a combination of awareness raising, getting individuals who don't have access onto the Internet so they can see what's there for them, in addition to working to develop localized content, particularly in local languages in countries around the world, to make that Internet experience more applicable to them.